Hi everyone, and welcome to day 36 of our 40-day journey with the Holy Spirit. We're almost there now. And the ongoing themes in Jack Levison's book tend to reflect this. We've looked at the Holy Spirit in our breathing, the very core need of life, and then we've done it in praying, practicing, learning, leading, and building. All themes that in a sense lay the building blocks, the cornerstones of developing our relationship with the Holy Spirit as God has given it to us. To carry on the building analogy, once any project has been planned, it will need developing, trialling, or practicing, and those involved will end up living and breathing it, so that it doesn't end up standing on weak and shifting sand. With the Holy Spirit, it's a gift from God and of God, to be practiced and breathed to give it those firm foundations, developed through acts of love and kindness as we've been witnessed during this lockdown period. And once this has been practiced and expanded, we then reach our theme for this part of the 40-day journey, which is the theme of blossoming. Now this to me tends to speak of growth and outreach, and we often look at the spring flowers blossoming, for example, giving nourishment through feeding and watering, gives them growth and new life as they emerge from their earthly cocoon. Can we see our relationship with the Holy Spirit perhaps in this way? Often hidden, not obvious, until God chooses to speak to us when, where, and how he chooses. Our openness to listen to God will be our part in receiving the Spirit. But the joy is that God will not desert us, even if we do that to him. He will redeem us as he redeemed Israel, and guide us to blossom and grow in our faith and relationship with him. Now, although rain can be a real frustration if you're a cricket fan like me, or if you're completing endless shuttle runs to the washing line to get damp washing back into the house, however, Jack Levison in today's meditation speaks of the joy of rain falling on the hot, balmy days of his upbringing of his youth. He felt its refreshing coolness and compared it, with the value of hindsight, to an outpouring of the Spirit washing over him and refreshing the atmosphere. And in our linked reading today from the Old Testament prophet Joel, chapter 2, verses 28 to 29, we see here's one of many prophets in the Old Testament who longed for an outpouring of the Holy Spirit on all nations, extending God's covenant to the Gentiles. They were given God's Spirit in what in a sense is an early sign of inclusive church, breaking down old prejudice, including non-Jews in the teachings and practice of the early Christian church. As he does now, God put no difference between Jew and Gentile. His abundant gifts were and are poured out not in slow droplets but in torrential showers. All are included. No male or female here, young or old, black or white. It's that wonderful simple word that defines inclusivity for me, and that's and. For as today's passage in Joel says, I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters should prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. Even on the male and female slaves in these days, I will pour out my spirit. The grace of the Spirit is shared there without distinction. Isn't that wonderful? All humanity can participate in the Spirit, for it's freely given to all by God and from God. There are no national differences, no love without borders, without restrictions, conditions, or ritual. Just pure love, and that helps us breathe, develop, and blossom in our relationship with the Spirit. For as Jack Levison says, the Spirit has devastated privilege, obliterated barriers, and melted away class divides. Joel too himself forecast a world without borders, moulded and grown through God's love poured out in the Holy Spirit. As we've often said in these blogs, our lockdown period has seen so much kindness and care poured out to others. It could have been very different. We could have all retreated into our borders, into our cocoons. And whilst many have had to isolate or shield for health concerns, the Spirit has been at work, telling our community we are all in this together, and that no one needs to be purely alone. Many wider organisations too in this time have been at work across borders, displaying God's inclusive love, and Jack Levison mentioned some of these, not just in the pandemic, but also in great other times of stress, of war and of famine. And I think of the Red Cross, Médecins Sans Frontières, Medicine Without Borders, the White Knights, that brave British-based group, I believe, who assist in finding people that are buried through earthquakes. No boundaries, just boundless, practical and spiritual love. emphasised too in individuals like David, I forget his surname, a doctor I think from Manchester who has featured on various news bulletins in the recent past. He regularly leaves his secure, well-paid job in a British hospital to save lives in Syria and in Yemen by performing surgery in the most appalling testing conditions to save the sight and facial structures of children wounded by mortar bombs and the associated shrapnel. This is boundless love. This is borderless love and compassion. The Holy Spirit has grown and is blossoming in these wonderful individuals and groups, and in our humble acts of kindness in our own communities. We must keep trusting God's process that we can listen, receive, work, and blossom in His Holy Spirit. God bless everyone. Have a lovely day. Bye for now.